your best years weren't behind you, but right in front of you? What if getting older wasn't a slow fade, but a sacred invitation to live with more intention, energy, and purpose than ever before? For Allison Davis, that question wasn't theoretical, it was personal. After years of on again, off again wellness routines, gut issues, and adrenal fatigue, Allison, mom of five, former TV producer, and now a traditional naturopath, decided that 60 wasn't the finish line. It was just the start. So today she's known as the longevity strategist, and her book, 60 is a Good Start, is flipping the script on aging by showing women how to build a plan for a powerful second act, one grounded in health, clarity, and purpose. In this episode, we'll unpack her 3-pillar framework, the mindset shifts that helped her stay consistent, and how to rewrite your habits so you don't just live longer, you live better. Because the truth is, it's never too late to get better and do better. And your next chapter might just be your best one yet. But before we dive into this episode, y'all already know what time it is. Vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, the safe space where survival mode ends and your healing journey begins. So if you've been pushing through the pain, fatigue, bloating, or hormone chaos, I want you to know that your body isn't broken. It's just speaking. And I'm speaking today with Allison, 60 is a Good Start author and the longevity strategist. Welcome to the Good Vibes Studio, Allison.
It's great to be here. And that's what we call chair dancing. Is that what you call it?
Sure thing. I absolutely love it. Even when I'm out in real life, in public, I still like a good chair dance and having to get up on the middle of the dance floor and get to moving and grooving sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, Allison, let's start with the book. Why did you even write 60 is a Good Start, and what message were you hungry to share with women who are healing into the midlife, heading and healing into
Yes. Well, I turned 60 is one reason. There's a double meaning to that title, but the first one was I turned 60 and just was sort of blown away by that fact. I thought, good gracious, it's 10 years to 70, 20 years to 80. How in the world did that happen? And what am I doing with my life? I remember asking myself that at 40 and 50. But back then I was pregnant with my second and adopting our fifth. And so I figured I was doing what I should be doing. Those were the basics. But this was different. This was, for me, this was midlife. That might be 50 for somebody, or wherever, just somewhere in there when kids are all starting to leave and grow up. And, I'd been teaching women about natural health for the prior 10 years. And I love that. And I still love that. It's like my favorite subject. So what we talk about at parties, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that one. But I felt like something was shifting. I was restless. That was the word. I was restless. And I knew I needed something that I could sink my teeth into for the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, it was purpose. It was like, I feel like my purpose is shifting. I don't know what it is though. And I thought, I think I'm going to have to say yes to some things to figure out what it is. Like the things I say yes to that pop up in my life may not be the thing, but I think they're going to take me on the road to the thing, right? I don't know why I thought that. I just did. And maybe that's just years of experience of realizing, you just do one thing and then another, and then all of a sudden an answer comes. So
wait a minute, Allison, because that really settled for me. So I don't know if that really shifted. Well, clearly it shifted for you at that particular moment. But for me, I even had to write that down. Start to say yes to things.
Yes.
Not knowing what
it's going to lead to,
or the results was going to happen, but just saying yes and seeing what it happens. So if y'all already vibing with us on this conversation, and we're not even 5 minutes into the episode, drop yes in the comments. Right. in the event that you might feel like you need to start saying yes to some things to see a certain shift. And maybe you are in a space in your life or a chapter in your life where you needed to give yourself permission to say yes, because
Yeah.
it's so easy for us to say no.
Oh
But go
gosh,
ahead.
it is so easy. And that's just like deciding to become very observant of the signs around you, the things that are kind of popping up, and you're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Let's look into that. Well, so the first thing I saw was this, it just popped up on my Facebook feed. This guy's calendar he sold. It was a year-long calendar. Jesse Itzler, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's the husband of Sarah Blakely, who invented Spanx. Big entrepreneur. And he's
Heard
all,
Spanx.
yeah. And he's all about you're having a misogi every year. And that's a Japanese word for a life-changing event. So doing something challenging, something hard, something that's a big deal where you're going to be like, oh, back in 2021, I did this was my misogi. And then 2022, it was this. Maybe it's some trip, or maybe it's climb a mountain, or maybe it's, I don't know, lose some weight, or repair a relationship, or something, write a book. I mean, do a podcast, it's just something. So the whole like first 3 to 4 months of that year, I'm in, and it came with a Facebook group, this calendar did. So I'm in this Facebook group. I don't know anybody. They're male, female, all ages. And I'm just sort of lurking in there, just reading what people are writing. And about 3 to 4 months in, this girl pops up and she says, hey, I'm going to do 75 hard starting tomorrow. Does anyone want to do it with me? Do you know what that is?
Heard of it? Yes, ma'am. I never did. I didn't do 75 hard. I didn't do 75 soft.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's this, like, it's a physical challenge for 75 days, really for mental toughness. I mean, it's this big muscular tattooed guy created it. And I'd heard of it 4 months before, and I'd listened to his podcast. I thought, no way I can do that. I'm not his target market. That's not for me. Well, then after being in this group, and I like this story because it kind of, it talks to me about mindset. So the only thing that had changed from when I first heard about it to that day she said that, I went back and listened to that podcast again, describing what it was. And I thought, I think I could do this, and it could be my misogi. And I just turned 60 and I got to do something. So like, right, we get to thresholds in our life where we're just like, I got to do something. So I decided to do it, and I did it, and I was successful, because it's not easy. A lot of people quit, just like the New Year's stats of resolutions, right? People do it for a few weeks and then quit typically. It doesn't have to be you. So anyway, I did that. And then I also got into a mastermind with women, again, online, people I didn't know. We were just talking about,
So you did do the 75 hard.
I did do it.
Oh,
did do
what
it.
did you learn about yourself?
It was significant. It's the biggest challenge I have ever done. Here is the other thing. We are pretty good at keeping promises to other people, right?
Mhm.
But we're not good at keeping promises to ourselves. And I was sick of saying, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, whatever it was, get healthy, or I'm going to start, doing this, that, or the other, and then not doing it. And I mean, over the years, I was really one that would go just full bore into something for, I don't know, however many weeks or a couple of months, whatever it was, like a job, and then I would just back off and do nothing for however long, and back and forth. And part of that was like, oh, felt like I was a spontaneous person, and I like that fact. But, that only goes so long. That's maybe good in your 20s and 30s, right? But the older you get, the more that does not work. And so it was very significant in finally, reaching that threshold of, I got to take care of myself. If I don't take care of myself and nobody else is going to do it, then am I going to be here for my kids, for my, for my future, whatever? I mean, no. So, I had reached that threshold of deciding that I was going to keep this promise to myself. Now, I had done that on a smaller scale about 5 years prior, when I had turned 55. And up to 55, I had not exercised regularly. Again, I would do 2 weeks, I'm all into it. And then I would drop off for 5-6 months. And then I would do haphazardly. Finally, I hit 55 and I thought, oh my gosh, is it too late? Is it too late? Read a book that was like, no, it's not too late. And so that was when I said, and I still had 5 kids at home. I said, I don't care what happened. Of course I care. I had to say this in my mind. I don't care if these kids eat cereal for dinner, or if they don't get like really completely educated, or if they're wearing crappy clothes. I am going to exercise. That everything's going to revolve around my exercise. Like, and I had an appointment at the gym. Okay. So those appointments are not getting canceled by anyone, my husband, my kids, whatever. There's always something that will come up. There's always something. There's a holiday, there's a birthday, there's a event, there's a this, there's a vacation. There's something that will interfere with your commitment to doing these things. And so that was my kind of beginning of starting to make these changes and become consistent. Because that's what I feel like I'm trying to solve the problem of inconsistency when it comes, right down to what is the real issue here. So anyway, I got to about a couple of weeks before I decided or had the revelation to write the book. I was with my best friend from growing up. We've known each other since we were 6. She lives down in Dallas. I was down there with her. She, of course, had just turned 62. And we went out to have a drink with some of her friends who were about 60. So we're all, these ladies at this bar having a drink.
Taking over for a social.
Right. And she said, of course, we're talking about the subject. And she says, well, I hear at 60 is the gateway to old age. And I just had this vehement response. I was just like, no, I refuse to accept that. Telling my husband about it the next day. And then, it's like, what are we passionate about? The things that, well, we just automatically feel those feelings, whether they're anger or loving something so much or whatever it is. And it was a couple of weeks later, I was actually doing a little breathing meditation. I just all of a sudden thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to write a book. It's going to be about natural health, longevity, which I'm fascinated with, all the studies and everything. But the key thing was there has to be a plan for people to execute on. Mm-hmm. And with my TV background as a producer, planning an organization was like the key skill. And then I homeschooled my kids, same thing, key skill. Like, there has to be a plan, organized, intentional, all of that. Things will always get in the way, but there has to be that to begin with. So there's a planner. So the book leads to what I call the 60-day dare. And there's a planner that goes with it. And there's a program online that you can do it with us also. Multiple ways to do this. But 60 is a good start. That second meaning of that name of the book also refers to 60 days, because we know from Dr. Caroline Leaf, she's a neuroscientist. She's written like tons of books and she's wonderful. She has looked in the microscope at the nerve cells in the brain and can see habit formation. And it is at least 60 days. It could be as much as 8 months, but it depends on the person and the habit and all that. But it's at least 60 days. So that's also why 60 is a good start. So that's kind of how the book came about.
Yes, I like it. And I thank you for breaking that all the way down. Like, even to the point where you took your personal journey doing the 75 hard, which surpassed the 60 days, but you got through it. And then you realized that people really need a plan to help them with the inconsistencies or adopting a habit or creating a lifestyle. Or getting a routine in. They need time, they need guidance, but they absolutely need a plan.
And it has to be easy. It has to be easy.
Because if it's not going to happen.
They're not going to do it. Yeah. So I'm always talking about baby steps. I've been talking about baby steps for a decade with the people, like the women I talk to, about how do you incorporate this thing? How do you incorporate that thing? It is baby steps, and you get 1 or 2, a few in, and then once those are habits, then you can add the next. So,
yes. Yeah. And I like that you talk about habits and baby steps. So for me, in my training, and I'll let y'all know about it, I talk about the heal method, and I'll talk about just changing one habit at a time. When you start thinking about changing so many different habits all at once, you will get inconsistent, or
Yeah.
you will start to feel overwhelmed, and you don't get excited about the new thing that you're doing. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big component of embracing change and embracing something that you want to see shift in your lifestyle. And so it's not necessarily a fad or a trend or just a challenge, but you're changing something. And it
Yes.
could be a challenge that exposes what you want to change, now that you have a little bit more data on recognizing who you really are when it comes to keeping a promise to yourself. And so I want to let y'all know about that training. So y'all, this isn't all about willpower. It's about creating safety in your body. So if you've ever been stuck in cycles of pelvic pain, fatigue, bloating, and survival mode, it's not your fault. Your body isn't broken. It's asking you for a reset. It's asking for some attention. And in my free training, 5 costly mistakes keeping you stuck in pelvic pain and fatigue, and how to break free naturally, I'll walk you through the HEAL method, HEAL, the same root-based framework I use to move from hormonal chaos and chronic inflammation to regulated cycles, restored energy, and the life I love. This is where the guessing ends and real healing begins. And so y'all definitely check the show notes and register for the next training. So Allison, we got 60 is a good start. We got the book. We understand what's going on. We're bringing it up in conversations when we're with the women at the table, chopping it up with your childhood best friend. And people are like, oh my God, 60s, it's coming to an end. And you're like, not for me. Watch your mouth. I'm about to cause this movement. And over time, you're going to know me as the longevity strategist, because I'm going to help people create that plan to guide them. So you've lived many lives, from the TV producer, the homeschool mom, the entrepreneur. What role did your health journey play in shaping the direction of your life? And when did you realize that food was deeply connected to how you felt, and what changed once you acted on that knowledge?
Yeah, that was that first realization. I definitely didn't grow up thinking this was the direction. I mean, I grew up with that whole photography, and then TV production led into that. And I ended up in LA working as a producer out there. And that was super fun. Mid-20s to mid-30s, loved it. So fun out there. But I was about 30. And I lived in an apartment complex, and there was this acquaintance that lived nearby, a couple doors down. She was older than me. And I remember she was very California. She wore these flowing kind of caftan things, and I could see all these potions through her window, on her kitchen counter. And one day I was telling her about this irritating thing that it was a yeast infection. I kept getting them, do all the over the counter stuff, didn't really work. She said, oh my gosh, you got to go to my TCM doctor. I'm like, what is that? And my father was a surgeon. Okay. So my grandfathers were doctors. I grew up in a very medical oriented, although I think America is that way too. But I certainly grew up in that environment. And so she said, traditional Chinese medicine doctor. I was like, oh my gosh, really? Well, okay, I'll try anything. So I couldn't get in for 6 weeks. He was really busy out there. And I figured, well, that was a good sign. And so I go in, and he does muscle testing and all this stuff, and asks me all these questions. Those kind of doctors, like naturopaths or whatever, you are filling out an initial long form about all of your lifestyle habits and all this kind of stuff. So finally he said, all right, you have got to change your diet. You've got to take dairy out of your diet. And I realized I was eating dairy 3 times at every meal, whether it was cereal and milk. And I was not eating great then. I was just eating the traditional American diet. Pasta and cheese and crackers, just whatever, single life, it was this. And so he
Being
said,
invincible in your 20s and 30s. I
exactly,
got time before
I
the
can
health
do
kicks
whatever I
in with
want. Yeah, I feel
issues.
good, except for that. But yeah. Oh yeah, that. Anyway, he said, you got to get rid of dairy. You may be able to add it back in like a year. Some people can, some people can't. And I want you to take these herbs. I don't even remember what they were, but they were a supplement, some kind of herb. and herbal formula. And so I did, and I have never had one since. And I don't still take that. I don't remember what it was, but that was the beginning of, wow, okay, something other than prescription and over the counter medication can help heal us. Oh, these are natural substances. This has to do with what I'm eating, the fuel I'm putting in my body. I'm like a car. We're not going to put a bunch of junk in our car. Why would we do that to this amazing body that we've been gifted? So it's like when you really start thinking about it, it's like, oh, that was stupid. But anyway, I mean, sure, I still like my treats, don't get me wrong. So anyway, I moved back to Oklahoma at 35, met my husband. We met when we were both visiting here. He was from DC, but we were both from here. Decided to move back, get married, start a family. And then I had my first at 37, then 40, then 42. So I had 3 little kids at 42, and my body just went, my immune system was just down, and I was like in bed sick for a week every 6 weeks. And I was just like, what is going on? So I got a naturopath doctor here. So this is like almost 25 years ago, 23, whatever it is. And we did all the tests, the poop, the urine, the hormone, the heavy metal, the neurohormone, everything. We looked at everything, and I had too much bad bacteria and not enough good in my gut, which is, 85% of our immune system. That should really be tested on people, because that's very enlightening. I had adrenal issues. They were shot, as he said, which is not unusual after having 3 babies. Maybe since I had them later than a lot of people is more, I don't know. Thyroid was off balance. And so we started just addressing all these things. And of course, diet was part of that. And really, I feel like all through my 40s, on all levels, I was addressing my health, because my driving motivation was energy, because I had these 3 little kids just to do the job I was here to do, be the mother of these kids. I needed energy. And so I was just determined to figure that out. And so I did, started taking various supplements, eating better, doing all the things, but even emotionally, spiritually, all just attacking it from all angles. And, eventually I started teaching other women the same thing. So probably about the time I was 50, I started doing that, and then have been doing that for, a decade or more. And so, that just became my fascination. Was just because it's a puzzle. I mean, we're also individual, and it truly is a puzzle that we all individually have to figure out for ourselves, because I need something different than you. There are some basic tenets, though, that everyone needs to do. That's what my book and program are really all about. But then, you individually can get into the little specifics that are going to be true for you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. And I love it. Was something that you said was fuel versus food.
Yeah.
Putting in your body. Like it was like you was like, how am I fueling my body versus how
Yes.
am I fooding my
Yes.
body?
Yes.
And so many people look at that. So if you're vibing with us still in the conversation, drop the word fuel, FUEL, in the comments to let us know you caught that. You're supposed to fuel your body, whether that's within your mindset, whether that's in the food that you're eating, whether it's in the environment. You want to fuel your body, whether it's in the rest that you are needing to get. And then I love that you talked about being able to have kids at 37, 40, and 42. And then realizing I still need the energy to parent, and to be there. And then saying you went to a naturopathic doctor. And I really feel like, because you talked about your family dynamics was pretty much traditional doctors and surgeons, you got a new perspective of what healing could look like for yourself when you introduced yourself to traditional Chinese medicine, and really got a deeper dive on exactly how you were living and what your lifestyle looked like, and some of the changes that you made, and some of the herbs or supplements that were, natural that you took, that really allowed you to see an issue be solved. not creep
Yeah.
back. Because sometimes we
Yeah.
see things that continue to come back and
Yeah.
happen. You're like, okay, let me do this again. And then it
Yeah.
goes and it leaves
Yeah.
and then it comes right back.
Yeah.
Like it was solved for you. You didn't have
Yeah,
to
it
come
was. And it's not always that way. However you're healing something, but it was on that. And it was a paradigm shift. That's what we
huge.
have to have. You know, most people in America at some point, unless you grew up in a family that was already very natural, which that's happening more and more, but it's not that common. You know, you have to have a paradigm shift. And that's what I had back then was, wow, okay, this is completely different. And it's logical. Things needed to make sense for me. If they didn't make sense, logically, I mean, doesn't it make sense to I love the line, we're not deficient in anything synthetic.
Mm.
Well, okay. uh, of course we're not. We're an organic body created by God, or whatever. I mean, so how could we, now I understand there's life-saving things out there. And thank God for the surgeons like my father. Totally respect. He's dead now, but I respected, him and what he did. He was saving lives every day. And so for
Right.
that intense, life-saving kind of things, broken bones, whatever, we need our modern medicine. But just for our general health, we have to take a different route because they're not the same. You really have to look for that naturopath or functional or integrative medical doctor, or to get kind of that or even a nurse practitioner, a functional nurse practitioner, that they're almost to the level of a doctor, I'm finding out lately, which is pretty interesting. But that kind of person to help with just that general chronic diseases, autoimmune diseases, those general health issues that our country is just, oh my gosh, overrun with right now. It's so bad compared
It
to other
is.
countries. Yeah.
And I really want to kind of
People like
just
you, I mean,
ask.
health coaches, just those are the people you need to be getting in with.
Yes, ma'am. And I kind of like that you kind of shifting the conversation to this, naturopathic integrative, because I don't think we give them enough respect, enough
Mm,
light, and understand how dynamic their approach is
mm,
in the event that you also want to bring in that traditional medicine approach to how you're healing.
mhm,
And it's not a choose a side and just
mhm,
stick with
mhm,
it if you want that dynamic approach and you want to be able to have access to whatever it is that you're going through. I
mhm.
love that you talked about that. How do you go about identifying the integrative specialists or naturopathic doctors? How do you go about finding the right ones for you and knowing how to truly make sure that they're there to serve all of you and they're
Yeah,
a good
it's
fit?
it's not easy, but it is definitely doable, and especially today versus like 20 years ago when I started that. I interestingly, well, first of all, look for those names, search them out, Google them. There's probably several in your area, even if maybe they're an hour away or something. Like I live in a city of 50 or town, 50,000 people. So there's three large cities, all of them an hour and a half away. So my naturopath actually retired this summer, and I've had him for over 20 years. And so I was just like, oh, how am I going to find someone as good as he was? And he was a pharmacist in the beginning of his life for 10 years. Then he hated what he was seeing, so he went back to get his medical degree and become a naturopath. And so he actually could, prescribe as well as went the natural route, right? So you could choose with him. Like at that point when I was in my early 40s and we were figuring out what I was going to do on that gut health stuff, he was like, now you can do this prescription or you can go the herbal route. And I was like, well, I'm going the herbal route. He said, it may take a little longer, but not that much longer. I'm like, yeah, I don't want the synthetic in me. There's always side effects. Always. You may or may not
Always
feel
side
them, but there's
effects.
always side effects. Every doctor will tell you that. That's no secret. To
And then I honestly feel like even listening to some of the commercials, and then
Yes.
they say
Oh
some side
God.
effects may do, and then they list all these things.
May include death.
Yeah, and then you almost like side-eyeing it, like, and you have the audacity to tell us about this as if it's something
I know.
that's good. But some people are like, I have this problem. I want it solved now. You say you can solve it. I'll
Yeah,
take the risk. Give me the side
absolutely.
effects, whatever it is. And it's
Yes.
just like, okay,
And
do
I'm
what's
not
best
saying
for
that's
you. It's
terrible.
definitely your journey.
Yes, I mean, if you're in a situation that like in pain or just any of these things, maybe you do go ahead and do that. And then you spend some time researching, okay, what do I need? Why is this? What's the root cause of this? First of
That
all, that's what the whole difference is. We're going to band-aid it, or we're going to find the root cause, and we're going to go back and figure out, now, why did this happen in the first place? How can we change this? And that's what like a naturopath or integrative doctor is going to do, work with you. But that may take time, but you can slowly start doing those things, slowly start weaning off that medication, hopefully. You just kind of work on it, but that's the process and the puzzle.
and it's okay that time is being had, because you
Yeah.
lived so many years and you allowed so much time to pass
Yeah.
before you actually started prioritizing or addressing these things. So it's okay if things
Yeah,
take time. And I feel like we're
absolutely.
in a society where they want quick fixes or they
Yes,
want
we
something to
are.
happen immediately. And when it was like, but this problem didn't just immediately come. It
Yes.
was long
Yes.
before, with habits, with things that you were feeding it,
Mhm,
nurturing
mhm,
it, ignoring it.
mhm.
Because for me, it was the normalizing pain, normalizing the pelvic pain, normalizing the painful bowel movements when my cycle would be on, normalizing the cravings, normalizing, oh, my weight is high.
Mhm.
I must be just, what I'm eating a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not moving enough, but in lowering my weight and my weight being really, really low. And it's like, okay, well, what's the difference? Am
Yeah.
I not eating? Is there an appetite issue? What's really going on? Seeing the weight fluctuation. Shout out to my polycystic ovarian syndrome posse, my PCOS posse, who was like, what's happening with my weight? My body's working against me. Shout out to my endometriosis conquerors, those that are in pelvic pain, in pain all the time. My adenomyosis thrivers, those of you who have that pelvic floor, pelvic muscular pain with your cycle, not with your cycle, because it's just there. That inflammation, staying high inflammation. Also, you talked about root causes. That is so important as well, Allison. So let's talk about it. What are some of the most common root causes you see that are behind the fatigue, behind the inflammation, and the
My
mood
God.
dips in
This
women over 40? And how do you help people like really address them naturally?
Well, I mean, this goes, I think, to begin with, and again, everybody's individual. Everybody, I really feel like, has got to go
Body's
get that
complex.
testing done. But we do go back to how are we fueling our body? But what else is happening? What's the stress level of our life? I mean, that's enormous. You know, uh, Causing inflammation. What's going on mentally with us? What's going on spiritually? Are we in fight or flight all the time? Are we just like going, 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 just falling into bed at night, up in the morning to the alarm clock? Are we, what are all the things happening? Are we lonely, or do we have relationships? Are we doing what we love, or are we just phoning something in, or are we dreading going to work? Or, just like all of these things are important to assess. How are we sleeping? Are we getting enough sleep? That's the number one healer. Number one. If you 7 to 9 hours of, and there's so many ways to fix sleep, but that's like huge. And are we moving? Are we drinking enough water? The number one, the ER visits, over 50% of ER visits are solved with hydration, water. Um, you know, do we have our water bottle with us all the time? It's the only way you can get enough water in, because we got to think about, the suppleness of our organs and our veins and arteries. Just, I love picturing that. Like, we don't want them to be hard or anything. They need to always be wet, because we're 70% water. So, what are we speaking in our minds? What are the tapes and the things that we say to ourselves in our minds that have maybe been there since childhood? Who knows? Do you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I'm dealing with, are these commonalities in these lifestyle habits, and trying to help people solve each of those, or choose, what are the areas that they're, I don't know if that's answering your question,
That
because it
definitely
is.
does answer the question. And I wrote it all down because there are so many different layers, so many different components, so many different facets, so many ways that you can address the root cause and understanding what they are. And I kind of like to call them lifestyle disruptors, because you really don't understand what's disrupting your lifestyle until you become more aware of it, and you take the time to explore and really navigate and become aware of like what's really happening. And I love that you also talked about that naturopathic approach when they talk about like the muscle testing and the energy work that the podcast I recorded prior to this one talked about. So when you said muscle testing, he said muscle testing. It's like when you go that natural way, there's so many layers to it.
So many.
And it brings you into the conversation that they need your input. A lot of times in traditional medicine, they don't have time to hear everything that you have to say. They don't have time to go through all of your documents and the things that you have ready for them. Like if you don't have that in a simplified way, it's go, go, go. They have other things that they have to do. But that natural approach, that naturopathic integrative approach, it's all about you. And they need so much insight from you to even make it happen. But
that muscle testing is incredible. That muscle, your body is intelligent and it knows what it needs. When you start searching out muscle testing and you go read about that and what's actually happening, this is somebody that's asking your body yes and no questions. Is this good for this body? No, this body does not want that. Is this good for this body? Yes, this would be good for this body. It's incredible. And you can ultimately train yourself to muscle test yourself. And I know a lot of people that do that. They'll do that at the grocery store. They'll stand in front of various things and be like, does my body want this? Does my body need this?
And that's a great practice to have, and in actuality, that's a whole nother tip. So y'all, if y'all are a consistent listener of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, make sure you're grabbing some of these tips for yourself to apply them to your life. And while we're at it, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're watching the video version, make sure you hit subscribe. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast distribution platform, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a rating. And so I like that you talked about the muscle testing. And if you're listening right now, drop "my body is intelligent" in the comments, because so many times we're not feeding our body, feeding our mind, fueling our body, fueling our mind with the power, the affirmations, and the beliefs that the body already knows. You just have to get in alignment with what all your body is doing and saying to you. So let me know in the comments if you truly believe my body is intelligent. It is not working against me. I'm not a victim in my body. It is with me. I honor it. I love it, and I'm helping it heal so we can move in this thing together. And so some of the things you talked about, and I just want to hit it because it could be those lifestyle disruptors, but it's ways that you help women naturally address fatigue, inflammation, hormonal chaos, the bloating. It's how are you moving? Are you moving with intention? Are you moving enough? Are you getting in your water? Are you staying hydrated? Are you giving your body, their muscles, the systems, everything that is supposed to be functioning? Are you giving it the hydration that it deserves? Are you sleeping 7 to 9 hours so your body is healing? Your body is able to do the work that it needs to do while you're resting, because that's when it does some of its best work. Are you doing what you love to do? Are you showing up in life feeling good about the life that you're living and you're loving? And if you're not, what can you do to shift that? What can you say yes to get you to that place? Spiritually, where are you? What are you doing? How are you feeling? What's pouring into you? What are you pouring into? Mentally, what's happening in your mind? What are those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs, those things that are keeping you in the state that you're currently in, knowing that you're a being that can be shifted? And then what are those stress levels? Are you addressing the stress? Are you minimizing the stress? Are you eliminating the stress? Or you're allowing the stress to come in and you're just ignoring it, and now it's finding a place in the body to store and cause and wreak havoc? And how are you fueling the body? How are you getting in that functional nutrition, all of those benefits? And if you're wondering and you're saying, I don't know anything about how I should be eating, what I should be doing, let me tell you right now. Welcome to your first step towards reclaiming your rhythm. Y'all, the plant-based alternative guide isn't just a recipe book. Yes, it gives you juice, smoothie, meal recipe ideas, but it's a lifestyle awareness tool. If you've ever wondered why bloating, fatigue, or cravings keep coming back, even when you're thinking you're eating healthy, This guide will show you what your body's been trying to tell you. So inside, you'll find clean swaps for common inflammatory triggers, nourishing juice and smoothies that help restore balance, and then simple, satisfying meals aligned with your healing. Because you don't need more restoration. I mean, you don't need more restriction. You need restoration. So eat like your healing matters, because it does. So Allison, we're getting into the fact that I want you to kind of tell us a little bit about how you guide women to start simplifying their health. Like, especially when they've been caught in a cycle of supplements, diets, quick fixes, things that they see on social media that haven't really worked. How do you guide them to simplify?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the book is about. So I've taken those longevity habits, which really are the principles for a good life. And I've broken them down into 3 pillars: body work, brain work, and world work. Body work is the physical, brain work is the mental, emotional, spiritual, and world work is the purpose, your purpose in your relationships. So the idea is that you're going to pick one from each category to do for 60 days. Now you could pick one from one category. You could pick 2 from one category. You can design this however you want, but it's within these parameters. So under each of those 3 pillars are the big 5. And so, for instance, in body work, we have eat, drink, that would be water, move in your body, sleep, and breathe. Deep breathing. Deep breathing is a big deal. People are like, really? Breathe? Yes, breathe. You'll learn about that. But so, for instance, on eating, you can do whatever you want. You can add something that you think you need to add. You can take something away that you think you like, alcohol or sugar or whatever. You can go on a certain diet that you like. I give some suggestions. For instance, we just finished a 60-day dare, and I did 30 grams of protein every day before I could eat something else. And because it was always hard for me to like get enough protein, so just to start the day with 30 grams of protein was wonderful. I cannot tell you how great it has been. I'm still doing it. We're in a gap now before we start the next one. And so I'm happy that I'm still doing it when I'm not even in the 60-day dare. So for me, so far that's worked. We're only like 5 days out, but I also did a deep breathing session every morning. But it's drinking enough water, and you're going to be very specific. What am I going to do exactly for 60 days? It might be that you're going to work out 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day, but it's different each day. Maybe 3 days a week, you're going to strength train, which really is the number one thing we need in midlife and beyond. They say the muscle is the organ of longevity. We have to have strong muscles for mobility, for getting around. And it's just really critical. So maybe you're going to work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday with strength training. Maybe you're going to walk on the other days. Maybe you're going to throw a little yoga in there or something on one of those days. But you're going to decide what you're going to do, and you're going to stick with that plan for the 60 days. And then brain work is write, read, clear, meditate, create. So write would be if you have just a crazy stressful life, you've got so much in your head, and it's just like, every morning you're going to do a brain download. You're going to get what's up here with a pen and a paper, and you're going to write down, because that's a brain thing, to write with your hand what's in your mind. Just get it on paper and out of your head. Or maybe you're dealing with some grief or some undealt with trauma, and it's there. You haven't want to deal with it, but you do need to deal with it, So maybe you're going to just journal about that for every day for 60 days. Read would be reading nonfiction, something uplifting, self-improvement, personal development, business development, improve your skills in some way. It's something that's uplifting to you, like 10 pages a day. You're going to do that every day. You're going to finish the book before you start the next one. It's real easy not to do that, right?
That part, heavy on that type book. If you ever started a book, didn't finish it, and picked up another one, let us know if you can relate. We're typing it right now virtually. We're there.
Yeah, me too. Totally.
Page still folded down. Haven't even picked it back up, and have read several after that.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Allison.
We are in sync on that. Clear is, it could be two things. It could be decluttering, like a 15-minute session to declutter some area of your house every day. I did that one this last time. I can't tell you how long I tolerated this top drawer for like 2 years of a disaster. And finally, it's a beautiful thing. That messes with us mentally. I mean, one time I've got this floor to ceiling, wall to wall bookcase over here that just stressed me out every time I looked at it. Finally, I took the time to, it's now all my books are in color, reds, the yellow books, the blue books. And that's just how my brain is happy. I now love my bookcase. It doesn't stress me out. So that could be one thing. Or if you have not gone down the route of detoxing your home from the chemicals, that's the route you choose, that because what's going on in your skin is going into your bloodstream. Back to, we don't need anything synthetic, or the chemicals that are just in everything: laundry soap, dish soap, shampoo, makeup, skincare, toothpaste, everything. So maybe you take those 60 days and every day 15 minutes, and you're going to start looking at your labels, researching, Google, what's in this thing? Is this bad? Go to get the Yucca app on your phone, and you can look everything up and see, is it bad? Is it good? You're going to take the time to research, to purchase the new stuff. You're just switching things out. They're all about the same price. Sometimes, oh gosh, some of the stuff I get's way cheaper than like some of that other stuff. So, that would be that. Meditate would be meditation, prayer, or affirmations, like a 10-minute session every day. If that's something that you need to do. If you speak badly to yourself, that might be a really big one, like the affirmations in particular, and you just write them out. What are you going to say to yourself every day? And then create is art making. So it's like for the purpose of de-stressing, all of this goes to de-stressing, by the way. But art making, like 45 minutes of art making, lowers cortisol. They found that. I love to needlepoint. At the end of every day, that's like my reward for a good day. Sit down. It's just very like kind of meditative, and I'll listen to an audiobook or I'll watch a TV series, So finding something, maybe you take the 60 days to find something, to try different things out. If you don't have something, I give a ton of ideas. So those are brain work. And then world work. On the world work ones, you get to rotate during the week. Now, if you are the person that's like I was, and you're midlife, you're restless, you don't know what you want to do, you want to do something, you want something that's going to charge you up when you wake up in the morning, and you're excited to go do that thing. Well, then you should do the dream questions. And there's 60 questions. You journal the answer to one each day. And those questions are going to lead you to what you could, should, want to do for the next part of your life. Then we have engage. So those you would do every day. But then we have engage. We have a lot of people at this point in life that are lonely, and that, maybe they're widows, divorced, kids are all gone. Just for whatever reason, maybe they're introverts on top of that, so maybe harder for them too. But they're saying now, that I've seen several studies recently, that having relationships, good, positive relationships, is number one in longevity. So people you can count on, people you can just go talk to. And so engage, you might choose that once or twice a week, where you're going to call or message somebody to, let's go get coffee, let's go eat lunch, out to dinner. Or maybe you're going to FaceTime somebody from, that's across the country that you haven't seen in a long time. So it's those kinds of things that you want to regularly be doing, not a text. I'm talking like, and a positive experience, not a negative one. Then gather.
I haven't talked to you in a while. Let me lash out and let you know why I haven't talked to you. I understand. A positive one. I'm glad you put that there,
Yeah.
Allison. We need to make sure, because
right, I'm going to let that person know what I think.
They said this is a good place to start, and I'm starting with this phone call. Right. Glad you put a little caveat right there, Allison, to let them know what type of call.
Yes.
I'm really
going to be intentional.
Yeah,
and then
very
gather,
intentional with being intentional.
Yes,
I like it. Thank
gather
you for breaking down those 3 pillars of longevity habits.
There's 3 more on the spiritual, or on the world work. So gather is gathering in a spiritual community. All of these studies on longevity, these people were part of something, a spiritual community of some sort. Could be a church thing, could be a small group, a one-on-one even, but just talking about it, whatever. Volunteering would be, I call it help, but you're volunteering. Tons of people find their mission through that, but make sure you're doing what you want to do. I feel like people get guilted into things, and then they're doing something they don't really want to do. I feel like half the time I'm trying to teach people to say no, because
That's
I
powerful though.
promise you, someone else is meant for that thing. And if you're in the way, they can't pop up and do it. But if you
Oh, you
don't
in the
do
way.
it, they're going to come. They always come, and then you get to do the thing you're meant to do, whether
I
it's
like that. And
volunteering
I
or
think that's a
anything.
big thing too for people to know that they can say no, because it's too easy to say no to yourself. No to not working out, no
Exactly.
to not eating healthy, no to not making the time
Yeah,
to journal, no to not de-stressing, no to that. But you can say yes, yes, I'll take care of the kids. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll make that. Yes, I'll go here. Yes, I'll serve here. Yes, I'll show up here. Yes, I'll be a
exactly.
part of this.
We do that.
And so I think that's powerful for them to know the power in their no,
Yes.
and in the power of saying yes to the things that really align with them. And what
Yeah.
I love most about the breakdown of the pillars, I love the pillars. I love the intention that falls underneath the pillars. So maybe subcategories,
Mhm.
subtopics that align with it. I like that there's assessments built in the book. So it's not a read. It's not a just get the text off the pages. It's
Yeah.
how do I get my life on a track that I'm excited about living? And
Hmm.
I think that's what's beautiful about the piece of work that you really put a lot of time and effort in to start this thing in the 60s. And you don't have to start in your 60s. Like you can
Yeah.
start right now in your 40s, your
Oh, yeah.
30s, wherever you
Anyways.
are in life,
Yeah.
you can start now. But a lot of people, when they see, and you broke that down at the beginning, that the 60s is like it's going towards the end. And
Yeah.
really, no, it's just a new shift, a new season for you to begin in a whole different way that you probably never even thought you could be living. So I'm really grateful that you broke that down. And so for someone listening who feels like they've let things slide over the years, and you're helping them, tell them that they can say no, get out of your way, get out of other people's way from them being able to serve. What would you say to them to help them believe that it's not too late to shift?
Well, that is the big myth, that it's too late, and it is not. And in the book, I list a bunch of people that have done the big thing they were meant to do in their life in the last third of their life. I mean, there's a lot of examples of that. You could Google and find them. They're in the book. So I just, that is the big myth, and you have to know it's not true. And the beautiful thing about now is in general, we probably have a little more margin, a little more white space in our brain to think, because we're not in that survival mode that we were in for the last 2 or 3 decades, feeding kids and getting them educated and doing all that stuff, or in a big full-on career, or both. It's time, things may be slowing down a little, or you can make them slow down a little, have that time to think. And on top of that, we have all this wisdom from all this lived experience. It's just this, it's a great combination to, at a point where you can do something. I mean, there's just a ton of people out there that are. So, it's real easy to think, no, it's too late, but it's just, that's the big myth. You can't think that way. You have it requires a paradigm shift. It requires you to be like, okay, if that person can do this, why can't I?
Agreed. And I kind of want to ask you, Allison, what are those personal non-negotiables? What are 2 or 3 habits or rituals that support your vitality every single day?
Well, a general one is I love slow mornings. That probably maybe has something to do with my circadian rhythm or chronotype, they call it. We're all a little different in that way, but slow mornings are a big deal to me. And then I can really like attack my world from about 11 to 4 is when I'm really good. um, but in those mornings are some important things, and that 30 grams of protein was a huge one. The supplements I take are really big, and sleep is huge. I'm like, I want to go to sleep, at a good time, but I really want to wake up naturally. Like, I want to wake up, most of us in our lives, we have to wake up by an alarm clock. And I still have to do that sometimes because, you know, I've still got a ninth grader in my house. And so, you know, there's stuff to do there. But those are probably some of the big ones.
Okay. So slow mornings where you're getting in your 30 grams of protein. It's taking your supplements. That would be 2. Your
Yeah,
habits
yeah.
that are
Drinking the water.
non-negotiable.
I mean, drinking the water and the
Mhm.
sleep, getting the right amount of sleep.
Yeah.
Those
Yep.
are
Waking
all,
up naturally and
yeah,
getting your sleep.
those are
I
really,
like it.
yeah.
Okay. Non-negotiables for Allison. I gotta happen. Those 2 to 3 habits that really support your
Mm.
vitality. And that vitality was needed because once you started having a mama 5 starting at 37 with the first one, you were like, okay, where am I going to get this energy to be the best mom? And then you also talked about homeschooling, you know, as well, in addition to that. So now it's not just mom, it's mom, teacher, husband, you know,
The
house
whole ball of
caretaking,
wax.
all
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. And so that vitality is important.
Hmm.
But speaking of vitality, I want to get into the vitality spark segment of this episode. All right. So we're going to do some quick inspiration responses from you. So are you ready?
Sure.
All right, let's get into it. All right. A lie about aging you had to unlearn.
Well, just what I've been saying, that it's too late. I mean, I believed it at 55, right? When I hadn't exercised, I believed, oh my gosh, it's too late. At 60, you know, I was against it, but I still had that in me, you know. I mean, when you think about 10 years from 70, 20 years from 80, it's so easy to think it's too late. And so just that same thing. It's a myth. It's not too late.
Yes, ma'am. A meal that nourishes you and your mindset.
I love fried eggs. And I love bacon. You know, for a long time, I did not eat pork because, you know, it's like they say it's not the greatest. But to start, that's one of my proteins. You know, I kind of rotate through several, and I try to also do intermittent fasting. So I don't want to eat until my body wants to eat, till I'm hungry, right? And usually that's, I don't know, maybe 11, 12, even 1, just kind of depends on the day. So having bacon and eggs is wonderful.
Yes, ma'am. One habit that changed everything.
The exercise, the
Mhm.
exercise, the consistent exercise.
What was that form of exercise, Allison? That was like,
Well, it was just working out with strength training, working out with weights.
gotcha.
Eventually, I added Pilates, reformer Pilates, to that.
Okay.
So now I do weight training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Pilates on Tuesday and Thursday. Both of them are about 45 minutes.
Love the balance. Okay. All right. A wellness myth you wish we'd all retire.
Oh, well, that's funny you say retire. I would like to get rid of the word retirement. I
Woo-hoo!
think it from our vocabulary. I think, no, you don't say I'm retiring. You say I'm doing something different now.
There you
Because you
go.
know what
Okay.
happens to people that retire if they don't have some plan in place, there's stats, they die soon. And
Mm,
I mean, they do. It's so important. That purpose piece of our life is so important. So, yeah.
okay. A favorite quote or mindset mantra for midlife power.
Ooh, yes. Our future is hidden in our daily routine.
Mm, mm. Let me jot that
Yes,
down.
I love that. And that's kind of what I'm doing is all about is, you know, getting your daily routine because we have to ask ourselves, who do we want to be? Who do I want to be in a year? Who do I want to be in 5 years? Like, who do I want to be? Well, the only way that's going to happen is if you start baby step by baby step, incorporating those things that are going to get you there.
Got it. I love it. All right. And last question, last vitality spark. What does vibrant aging mean to you?
That I can move easily without pain, that I can converse and be in relationship with people that I love, whether they're girlfriends, husband, kids. And then I can just feel like I'm serving the world in that special way that only I can do. Because I do think everyone has that in them. There, whether you're affecting one person or 1,000 people, whatever it is, there's something. I think it's amazing that we are the only. There's nobody ever in the world, the history of the world, that's been born like us. That just blows my mind. I mean, that's incredible.
Or the same experiences that we have that shape
Yeah,
you and what
yeah,
we're
we're all
doing.
so different, and I think we're all here for a reason. So,
Yes, I
what is
like it. All right. So final two questions, Allison. Give some insights to the girl dads, the father figures, the role models, partners or spouses for those who are experiencing pelvic pain, hormonal chaos, bloating, fatigue, those that may be undiagnosed or diagnosed with endometriosis, adenomyosis, polycystic
Mm.
ovarian syndrome, or fibroids. How could they better be part of the conversation, the support system, but most importantly, the healing journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've just got to look at the things that really we've been talking about what is really number one, what are you eating? I mean, do a food log. Take a week, because it's so easy for us to think we know what we're eating, but we're just going to take a few bites of that thing, well, no big deal, right? But to do a food log, everything you're eating for 7 days. And what does that look like? And, go make an appointment with one of these kind of people we're talking about, somebody that leans toward the natural, and show that to them, because that is a huge factor in what's going on. But I'd also be looking at that hormone testing. And again, I'm going to say the hormone testing through a natural doctor, functional health, integrative doctor, functional doctor, naturopath doctor, functional nurse practitioner. Any of those titles are going to get you there, because, and here's what's going to happen. You're going to go do those hormone tests. And if you go to a regular doctor, they're going to have a lab report that comes back, and they're going to have a range. Oh, here's the normal range. Well, look, and they're going to look at maybe 30 things, like say on the blood work. And they're going to be like, oh, you're in the normal range here, so everything's good. That is not what these other kind of doctors are. These kind of doctors want you in the optimal range, which is here. It's much more narrow range. So they're not right. And every lab is different, so they're going to be getting you to that optimal range that's going to help make you feel better. But you've got to get those hormones tested. And in addition, a lot of these natural doctors want you to do a saliva test well, they'll do the blood test too, but they also want you to do a saliva test, which gives a lot more information on the hormones.
That's beautiful. Clearly never got that type of response on how they could help or be supportive in regards to that. And I love it. So do a food log for a week. Make an appointment with the naturopathic, integrative, holistic type of practitioner. Get hormone testing, and then the saliva and blood testing. You want insights, you want data, you want to understand how do I get shifted and start moving towards optimal health. So giving them that insight, being a part of that journey with them will definitely help be more a part of that healing journey. So thank you for sharing that, Allison.
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. All right, final question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you all eat?
Oh my gosh, what a question. Historical figure. I kind of love the founding of our country stuff. So, and I think I'm going to say this is a crazy person, but maybe not to me, but John Adams, our second president. I just was fascinated with him. There's an HBO series, it's pretty old, called John Adams. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. But it would be John Adams, and we would probably be fun to eat what they ate in those days. I would imagine that's going to be some sort of beef and vegetables, so I could just sort of see the scene of back then. That would be fascinating to me.
All right. All right. Well, let the people know where they can find you, where they can get the book, the name of the book one more time, how they connect with you.
60 is a good start. The best way might be to go to my website, AllisonMcCuneDavis.com, my full name, go /links, And that's going to get you just a bunch of links. There's actually a free download there that you'd probably be interested in. There's link to buy the book, the planner, some videos of like explaining the whole thing. So that's probably the best place. And the 60-day dare link is there too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being an absolute amazing guest on the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, please check the show notes for all the good vibes and value. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Jovonnie, host of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. I want you to know that you deserve to thrive. So let's shift one habit at a time, embrace the healing journey, and get to a place where you can thrive. Heal daily, thrive always. Thanks for vibing with me, y'all.